Zak Bagans' story, Haunted by Truth. He walks into the darkness, where others run out screaming. For over a decade, he stared fear in the face and dared it to blink. But behind the sunglasses, the tattoos, and the ghost-hunting bravado lies a man haunted, not just by spirits, but by something deeper. This is the chilling, emotional, and true story of Zak Bagans, the man who turned whispers in the dark into a global phenomenon. A childhood with questions. Zak Bagans wasn't always the fearless investigator we know today. Born on April 5, 1977 in Washington, D.C., Zak grew up in Glen Ellen, Illinois, far from the haunted prisons and forgotten hospitals he would one day explore. He was curious, artistic, and drawn to things most kids feared. Even as a child, Zak was skeptical of the world around him. He didn't take things at face value. He questioned reality. He questioned belief. But nothing could have prepared him for the day that changed his life. He was just 10 years old. Visiting an antique store with his mother, Zak laid his hands on an old weathered item, an object he couldn't explain. From that moment on, he said, he felt something change, a dark energy that he couldn't shake, nightmares, feelings of being watched, whispers that came from nowhere. Was it his imagination, or was it his first real encounter with the paranormal? Whatever it was, it never left him. Finding a voice in darkness, Zak moved to Michigan and later to Las Vegas, attending film school, unsure of where life was heading. But he felt it, an invisible thread pulling him toward the unknown. It wasn't about thrills or fear, it was about truth. In his early 20s, Zak began filming amateur documentaries with friends, fascinated by real stories of hauntings. But the world wasn't ready yet. Then came the spark. Alongside Nick Groff and Aaron Goodwin, Zak created an independent film titled Ghost Adventures in 2004. What started as a small documentary soon exploded with one of the most terrifying moments ever caught on camera. A brick moving across the floor by itself inside a haunted house in Nevada. It wasn't CGI, it wasn't a trick. It was undeniable. Television networks noticed. Audiences demanded more. And in 2008, Ghost Adventures launched as a full series on the Travel Channel. The Ghost Adventures era. From its very first episode, Ghost Adventures wasn't like anything else. While most shows were cautious, Zak ran headfirst into haunted asylums, prisons, and abandoned mansions. He provoked spirits, yelled in the dark, dared them to show themselves, and they often did. But the more Zak searched, the deeper he went, not just into these haunted places, but into himself. The show became wildly successful, spanning over 20 seasons, numerous specials and spin-offs like Deadly Possessions and Ghost Adventures, Quarantine. Millions of fans followed Zak into the unknown, but few understood the emotional toll it took. Behind the bravado was a man increasingly consumed by what he couldn't explain. There were nights he couldn't sleep, haunted not by ghosts, but by thoughts, voices he couldn't turn off. He began having physical symptoms too. Trouble with his eyes, unexplained anxiety, even illness that mirrored what investigators believed were supernatural attacks. Doctors had no answers. Zak started to wonder, was this the price of touching the other side too many times? He wasn't just documenting hauntings anymore. He was becoming a part of them. The more famous he got, the more isolated he felt. Not many people understood the pain that came with chasing darkness. And in some haunted places, Zak didn't just see shadows, he saw versions of himself, broken, alone, searching for something that might never be found. Darkness takes its toll. For Zak, ghost hunting wasn't just TV, it was real life, and real life doesn't always play fair. He's been scratched, pushed, and even possessed, at least according to him and those who witnessed it. He's walked into homes and come out a different man. One such moment was in the Demon House, a property in Gary, Indiana, that had gained national attention for its alleged demonic activity. Zak bought the house, investigated it, and what happened inside left scars, both physical and emotional. He claims to have experienced vision problems, lasting eye damage, and psychological torment after filming. He eventually had the house demolished, not to cover up the truth, but because the truth was too dangerous to leave behind. Zak later said, "I got too close to something that didn't want to be seen. I paid the price." A collector of curses. As the show's popularity grew, so did Zak's obsession, not just with ghosts, but with the objects they left behind. In 2017, he opened the Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. But this was no tourist attraction. It was a vault of nightmares. Inside the Dybbuk box, a wine cabinet said to be cursed with a malicious spirit, the devil's rocking chair from The Devil Made Me Do It murder trial, Charles Manson's ashes, the mirror of Bela Lugosi, rumored to show glimpses of death. Each item had a story. Each room held a memory, and many who visited claimed they felt sick, dizzy, unexplainably emotional. Some fainted, some refused to go on. But for Zak, this wasn't about shock value. It was about respect for the dead, preserving their truths, understanding their pain. And maybe deep down, it was about something else too, trying to quiet his own ghosts. Love, loss, and loneliness. While Zak became a star to millions, his personal life stayed largely private. He's been romantically linked to celebrities like Holly Madison, but most relationships seem to fade quickly. Zak once admitted that his lifestyle, his dark world, makes it hard to connect with people. You can't talk about demons over dinner. You can't explain why you need to sleep with protection prayers or why you won't bring certain things into your home. And though he has friends and fans all over the world, Zak often seems like a lonely soul, connected more with the dead than the living. In interviews, he's spoken about anxiety, insomnia, and feeling like he carries the weight of the energy he absorbs. "I feel what others can't," he said once. "That's a gift, but also, it's a curse." The critics and the believers. Not everyone believes in Zak Bagans. Skeptics say he overdramatizes. That much of what happens on Ghost Adventures is entertainment, not evidence. Paranormal purists accuse him of taunting spirits for ratings. Some even call him a showman. But there's another side. To many survivors of haunted experiences, Zak is a hero. He gives voice to those ignored, brings justice to those who suffered in silence, validates the unexplainable. For them, Zak is the one who believes them when no one else will. And that matters, because whether you believe in ghosts or not, Zak Bagans believes in people, and in their pain. The man behind the hauntings. Beneath the spiked hair and dark clothes is a man in constant search. For answers, for connection, for peace. He's traveled the world chasing ghosts, from the catacombs of Paris to the forests of Transylvania, from ancient prisons to abandoned orphanages. But no matter how far he goes, he always ends up back in the dark. That's where he feels most alive. That's where he believes truth lives. In the dark, he listens, waits, connects. Because for Zak Bagans, ghost hunting isn't about fear. It's about honoring what's left behind. Legacy in the shadows. Today, Zak continues to lead Ghost Adventures, create documentaries, write books, and expand the Haunted Museum. He remains one of the most well-known figures in the paranormal world. But even with success, there's always something missing. A question that haunts him. What happens after all this? What happens when the cameras turn off? When the voices fade? When there are no more haunted places to go? Does he finally find peace? Or is he, like the spirits he chases, destined to roam forever? Searching? Only Zak knows. Outrow, there are those who fear the dark, and then there are those who walk into it every time because someone has to. Zak Bagans is one of them. Not because he has to be, but because something in him already lives there. A man driven not by fame, but by a desperate need to understand. A man who stares into the void and whispers, "I'm listening." And sometimes the void whispers back. Is it fame, obsession, or a curse he can never escape? You decide. Comment below what you believe is really haunting Zak Bagans. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. Because the scariest stories are the ones that are real.